Well, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and all month long, AM Extra is putting a spotlight on some ways that we can all be more mindful of what goes on in our heads.
Yeah, experts say mindfulness is a powerful tool, but can be a concept that can be confusing to some. Joining us live to break it down and break down the concept of mindfulness is Portland area psychologist Dr. Leah Katz. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time. Describe what is mindfulness exactly.
Mindfulness is learning to be present with whatever's unfolding for you in the moment in a very kind and non-judging way. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Awesome. That makes sense. I actually heard this the other day, and I want to ask you about this analogy I heard about mindfulness and presence. Kind of picture it like a balloon, like a helium balloon. If you're holding it, you're going to let it go from time to time, but just like make sure you kind of yank it back down, like bring it back down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a great analogy. And there's all kinds of analogies like that. One that I like that similar is, if you remember blowing bubbles as a kid and you'd blow the bubble and you'd watch it and just watch it float away. So it's this idea of learning to be present with what's happening for us, and nothing is too scary or too threatening to be present for. And just learning to notice it in this compassionate, observing kind of way. And it can really be a game changer for how we live our life.
That's
Yeah, I
great.
mean, speaking of trying to take on things that can seem too scary, Leah, you've got this new book out called Gutsy, Mindfulness Practices for Everyday Bravery. So talk about that concept a little bit, and what kind of practices are you offering in this book?
Sure. Yeah, it's so exciting. My book just came out last week. And it's all about how we can use mindfulness lessons to access more meaning and bravery in our lives. And oftentimes, learning to be brave and learning to really access the life that we most want starts with self-awareness, which a lot of us, because we're so busy and we're in our heads and we're just doing a whole lot of things, aren't that aware of what we're thinking and what's holding us back. So my book is all about learning to identify what's keeping us stuck, and then how can we take brave action to access the meaning that we really want in our relationships, in our families, in our careers. And I really believe a lot of that starts with the practice of mindfulness and self-awareness and compassion and kindness. So that's just a little bit of my book in a nutshell.
That's great. This may come off as a very simple question, but I mean, why is it so important to be mindful? We talk about how to do it, and but why is it so critical to be present? Why does that matter?
I think it really, when we learn to be mindful, we hold the key to a greater and more meaningful life. It's just as simple as that. It opens up the possibilities for our relationships and how we connect with people. And it allows us to sink into the moments of our life that are joyous and exciting, and also be able to process the hard times and heal from past trauma. So, I mean, I know that that's a big answer, but I think it is a big concept. And I really believe that if it's something that we hold on to and start to practice, it could really change our lives. It's something that I felt personally in my own life. And it's been an incredible thing to witness for me, myself, and in my clients that I work with in my clinical work. It's a powerful tool.
So when we look at healing from past trauma, one of the things that I hear this term thrown around a lot is inner child work. It's become kind of a buzzword, I think, in the mental health space, but I'm not always exactly sure kind of what that is or how you go about that. So when you talk about inner child work and getting into some of those past traumas, what are we doing?
Yeah, and that's such a powerful concept, because all of us come to adulthood with some story from our childhood. Whether it qualifies as trauma or not, that's subjective and independent, but we all carry beliefs about ourselves that were developed in childhood, because that's when we learn about who we are and how the world views us. And so many of us go on autopilot then for the rest of our lives and just take these beliefs for granted and make decisions and have some self-fulfilling prophecies maybe, or hold ourselves back because of beliefs that were formed early on in our lives that were simply never true. So inner child work is learning to go back in time, understand how we were hurt, how we were injured as children. And again, it's like that mindfulness work, being able to examine it in this really compassionate way, understand how maybe it's guiding us around falsely, and then going back and healing. How can we go and create a different story for ourselves and recognize that those old hurtful stories were never really true? And how can we step into a braver, stronger belief system about ourselves?
Wow, powerful stuff. But the
Yeah.
concept of mindfulness, it's something you can talk about for a long time. It's a nuanced conversation, but it's an important one to have. So, Dr. Leah Katz, really appreciate your time this morning in helping us better understand this concept of mindfulness. And of course, you can check out the book as well. So appreciate your time, and great stuff.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. And again, Dr. Katz's book, Gutsy Mindfulness Practices for Everyday Bravery, available right now. Buy it wherever you get your favorite books. I think it's a very interesting yet important concept.
Yeah, good thing to take a look at this Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah, 8:42 right